There are footprints on the moon tonight. A dozen sets of them, pressed into grey dust more than 50 years ago, and they are still there, perfectly sharp, exactly as they were left. No wind has touched them, no rain has softened them. They will still be there, unchanged, in 1,000,000 years. Hello there, and welcome. However long your day has been, you can set it all down now. Get comfortable. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing slow. Tonight I have gathered the gentlest wonders of the moon. How it made our nights, why it always shows us the same face, what moonlight really is, and how it has been quietly looking after this world since long before anything here could look back. You don't need to remember any of it. Let each one drift through you and float away. So let your body grow heavy and warm. And let us begin on a quiet night with the light coming through your window. Here is the first soft fact, and it changes how the night feels once you know it. Moonlight is not the moon's own light. The moon makes no light at all. Every silver beam that has ever fallen across a bedroom floor or laid a path across a dark sea is sunlight, quietly borrowed. The moon simply catches the daylight the world has finished with and gives it back, softened, dimmed, and cooled, so that we may have it at night. The moon is not a lamp. It is a mirror, holding the sun's light gently over the sleeping half of the world. To rest in moonlight, then, is to rest in daylight that has been made kind enough for the dark. And it is old light in its small way. Sunlight takes about 8 minutes to cross to the moon, and a little more than 1 second to come from the moon down to you. So the silver on your windowsill left the sun 8 minutes ago, touched the moon a moment past, and has only just arrived. It is the freshest old light there is. To rest beneath that gentle relay is to be handed the day's last light by the patient hands of the night. Now, the face. The moon always shows us the same side. It has turned that same quiet face toward this world for billions of years, through every age of the earth, and no human being who ever lived, until very recently, saw the other side of it. The reason is a slow and lovely one. Over immense stretches of time, the Earth's gentle pull tugged the moon's spin into perfect step with its orbit, so that it now turns exactly once for every circle it makes, and keeps its face toward us always. It is not frozen. It is turning, gracefully, at precisely the speed required to never look away. To rest beneath the moon's steady face is to be watched over by the most faithful gaze in the sky. And the far side is not dark, whatever the old phrase suggests. It gets just as much sunlight as the side we know. It is simply hidden permanently from every window on Earth. There is a whole other landscape up there, mountains and craters and grey plains, that no one on this planet could see for the entire history of our species, until a spacecraft finally sent back pictures. Half the moon spent all of human history as a secret. To rest beneath a moon with a hidden half is to be reminded that even the most familiar things keep quiet depths. Now, the moon's distance, which is greater than nearly anyone imagines. The moon is far enough away that every planet in the solar system, all of them, side by side, would fit in the gap between the Earth and the moon, with room to spare. When it hangs large and golden over the rooftops, it looks close enough to touch, and it is 250,000 miles away. To rest beneath something so far and so faithful is to feel how gently the great distances hold us, and the moon is drifting further, very slowly, a little more each year, about the width of a fingernail. In the deep past, it hung far closer and far larger in the sky, and it will hang smaller for our descendants. Right now, in our brief age, it happens to sit at just the distance where it appears the same size as the sun, which is why we get the perfect eclipses that no other age will see quite the same way. We are living in the moon's loveliest moment, entirely by luck. To rest beneath a drifting moon is to be present for a coincidence 4 billion years in the making. Now, the tides, the moon's oldest work. Twice each day, the moon lifts the whole ocean gently from 250,000 miles away. It cannot touch the sea. It simply reaches with its quiet gravity, and the water rises up every shore in the world and settles back and rises again, and has done so without missing a single turn since there were oceans at all. Somewhere tonight, on 10,000 coastlines, the tide is coming softly in because the moon is overhead. To rest while the moon minds the sea is to keep company with the gentlest and most reliable pull in the world. And there are 2 high tides a day, not one, which is the part that surprises people. The moon pulls the ocean nearest it into a gentle bulge, and on the far side of the world, the water is left behind in a matching bulge of its own. So the sea rises on both sides at once, and the turning earth carries every coastline through both of them daily. The moon does not sweep the sea around. It simply leans, and the planet turns beneath. To rest while the world turns through the moon's 2 soft bulges is to be carried, without moving, through the oldest rhythm on the planet. And when the sun and moon line up, at the new and the full, their pulls add together, and the tides run higher and lower than usual. The old name for these is spring tides, and it has nothing to do with the season, only with the water springing further up the shore. And when the sun and moon stand at right angles, their pulls partly cancel, and the tides are gentle and small, and those are called neap tides. Twice a month the sea is bold, and twice a month it is shy, and the sky arranges all of it. To rest inside that monthly swing is to be rocked by something with a rhythm slower and larger than breathing, and whole worlds of small lives run on that timetable. In the tide pools, everything alive keeps the moon's hours, opening when the water arrives and closing when it leaves. On certain beaches, small fish come ashore to spawn on exactly the highest tides of the month, and the eggs wait in the warm sand until the next high water carries the young ones out. None of them can see the moon. All of them keep its schedule perfectly. To rest on a planet where so much of life quietly obeys the sky is to feel how deeply the moon is woven into things down here. And the tides do something even lovelier, deep in time. As the moon draws the oceans very slightly slow the Earth's spin, and so our days grow imperceptibly longer, and in return the moon eases a little further out. The two have been trading this way forever. The moon lengthens our days. We ease the moon away. It is the slowest and kindest exchange in the solar system. To rest inside a lengthening day is to receive a gift from the moon that no one has ever noticed, and that has never once stopped arriving. Now, the phases, the moon's monthly breathing. The moon does not change shape. It is always a full sphere, always fully round, and what changes is only how much of its sunlit side we happen to see from here. The crescent, the half, the gibbous, the full, all of it is a trick of angle, a slow, monthly turning of perspective. The moon you see as a thin silver curve tonight is exactly as round as the one that fills the sky at full. To rest beneath a changing moon is to remember that nothing up there is really diminishing. Only the view is. And on the nights of the thin crescent, look closely, and you may see the rest of the moon faintly glowing, a dim grey circle held inside the bright curve. That soft glow is earthshine, sunlight that bounced off our own planet, crossed to the moon, and bounced back again. It is the Earth's light, gently lighting the moon, so that we may see the parts the sun is not showing us. The old name for it is the old moon in the new moon's arms. To rest beneath earthshine is to know that our world, too, gives light to the sky, and that the exchange goes both ways. Now, a word about the full moon. It rises almost exactly as the sun sets, and it sets as the sun rises. That is what makes it full. It is standing directly opposite the sun, with the earth between, catching the day's light square on, which means a full moon is always a night-long companion, up for the whole of the dark, from dusk until dawn, keeping the entire watch. To rest beneath a full moon is to be accompanied for every hour of the night by something that will not leave until the morning does. And each full moon of the year carries an old name, given by people who lived by the seasons. There is the wolf moon of deep winter, and the snow moon after it, the worm moon of the thawing ground, the pink moon of the spring flowers, the flower moon, the strawberry moon of early summer, the buck moon, the sturgeon moon, the harvest moon, the hunter's moon, the beaver moon, and the cold moon that closes the year. 12 small poems, one for every month, still in use, still accurate, still lovely. To rest beneath a named moon is to keep a calendar older than any printed one, written in the sky. The harvest moon deserves its own moment. Near the autumn equinox, the moon rises unusually early for several nights running, so that just as the daylight fails, the great gold moon lifts over the fields as though relieving the sun of its duties. For centuries, this gave farmers extra light to bring the crop in, which is exactly how it earned its name. For a few nights each autumn, the moon quietly works a second shift, so that the day's work can be finished. To rest beneath the harvest moon is to be lit by the kindest scheduling accident in the sky. And some full moons come closer than others. The moon's path around us is not a perfect circle, but a gentle oval. So once in a while, a full moon happens to fall at the near end of that oval, and rises noticeably larger and brighter. People call it a supermoon. The difference is real, but modest, a little wider, a little brighter, and the true pleasure of it is not the size at all. It is that a great many people all over the world go outside on the same evening and look up together at something ordinary, for no reason but that it is beautiful. To rest after a supermoon evening is to have taken part in one of the gentlest crowds there is, all of it facing the same direction, all of it quiet, and now and then a season is given a spare full moon, an extra one that does not fit the usual count, and that one is called a blue moon. It is not blue. It is a bookkeeping leftover, a moon that arrived because 12 lunar months do not divide neatly into a year. And from that small calendar, untidiness came one of the loveliest phrases in the language, for something that happens rarely, but does happen. To rest beneath a blue moon is to be reminded that the rare things do come around on their own schedule, without being asked. Now, a small pleasure most people never notice. The moon rises later each night, by roughly 50 minutes, working its way steadily around the clock across a month, which is why the moon sometimes hangs in the afternoon sky, pale and papery and easily missed, and why some nights it does not appear until you are already deep in sleep. It is not absent on those nights. It is simply keeping different hours, patiently rotating its shift, the way it always has. To rest whether or not the moon is up is to trust a friend who keeps odd hours and always comes back around. And a day on the moon is nothing like a day here. Because it turns so slowly, the sun takes about 2 weeks to cross its sky, and then there are 2 weeks of night. A single lunar morning lasts longer than a fortnight. Sunrise there is not a moment but a slow event, the light creeping across the grey plains at walking pace, shadows shortening over days, the whole landscape brightening so gradually that nothing about it could ever startle anyone. To rest while the moon takes a fortnight over its sunrise is to be excused entirely from ever needing to wake up quickly. Now, the moon illusion, one of the sweetest mysteries in perception. When the moon sits low near the horizon, it looks enormous, far larger than when it rides high overhead. But it is not larger. Measure it, photograph it, hold a coin up to it, and it is exactly the same size in both places. The swelling happens entirely inside your own mind, which compares the moon to the trees and rooftops beside it, and decides, wrongly and beautifully, that it must be huge. Nobody fully agrees on why. It is one of the oldest puzzles we have, and it happens to every single person, every time. To rest beneath a moon, your own mind is enlarging, is to be gently reminded that some of the loveliest things you see are made partly of you. Now, the moon's own weather, or rather its absence. There is no air on the moon, and so there is no wind, no rain, no sound, no weather of any kind. Nothing up there erodes, nothing blows away. A footprint pressed into that grey dust will hold its shape for 1,000,000 years or more, and the dust itself has been lying undisturbed in places for billions. The moon is the stillest place we have ever set foot. To rest while the moon rests is to keep company with the most perfect quiet in the neighborhood. And the sky there is always black, even in full daylight. Our own sky is blue because sunlight scatters through the air, and with no air there is nothing to scatter. So the moon has bright sunlit days beneath a black sky full of stars, and the stars never go out, not even at noon. To rest beneath your own blue sky is to enjoy something the moon has never once had, and to know that on the moon tonight it is daylight somewhere under all the stars, and the moon is silent, entirely. Sound needs air to travel through, and there is none, so nothing up there has ever made a noise. Rocks have fallen, and no one heard them land. The astronauts could speak to each other only by radio, their voices crossing a few feet of absolute silence. In 4.5 billion years, that landscape has never once carried a sound. The moon is the quietest place any human being has ever stood. To rest in your own quiet room is to enjoy a smaller version of the deepest silence there is. And the gravity there is gentle, about 1/6 of ours. Everything is 6 times lighter. The astronauts found walking awkward, and eventually settled into a slow, bounding hop, drifting between steps, coming down softly. A person could jump several times higher than here, and would fall back down slowly, unhurriedly, as though the whole world had agreed to take its time. Even falling on the moon is a leisurely business. To rest with that thought is to imagine your own body 6 times lighter, sinking slowly and gently into the bed. And from up there, the earth does something the moon never does for us. It hangs almost perfectly still in the sky. Because the moon keeps one face toward us, an observer on that side would see our blue planet fixed in the same spot overhead day after day, month after month, never rising and never setting, only slowly turning and changing phase. A permanent blue lamp, always in the same place. Imagine having a sky with one great blue thing in it that never moves. It would be the calmest view in the solar system. To rest beneath your own moving sky is to be gently reminded that things do come and go here, and that this is its own kind of gift. Now, the colors of the moon, which are subtler than they look. The moon appears silver-white, but its dust is actually dark gray, about the color of worn asphalt. It reflects only a small fraction of the light that falls on it. What makes it look so bright is simply the contrast. One dim gray stone against the perfect black of space. The brightest thing in your night sky is, in truth, a very dark object doing its best. To rest beneath a modest moon is to admire something that shines not because it is bright, but because it is patient and placed in the dark. And when the moon hangs low and turns gold or amber, that too is our doing, not its own. Low on the horizon, its light travels through far more of our air, which filters away the blues and lets the warm colors through, exactly as it does for a setting sun. A golden harvest moon is a white moon seen through a great thickness of our own evening. To rest beneath a golden moon is to be shown how much beauty the world adds on the light's way in. Now, the eclipses. When the earth passes exactly between the sun and the moon does not simply vanish into shadow. It turns a deep, soft red. And the reason is beautiful. The only sunlight reaching it is the light bending through the very edge of our atmosphere, and that light has been filtered through every sunrise and every sunset happening on Earth at that moment. The red on the eclipsed moon is the light of all the world's dawns and dusks, gathered and projected. To rest beneath a red eclipsed moon is to watch every sunrise on Earth being shown at once, on the only screen large enough. And eclipses can be predicted with great precision, centuries ahead, because the moon's motion is so faithfully regular. Ancient astronomers worked out the cycle by patient record-keeping alone, noticing that eclipses repeat in a rhythm about 18 years long. Someone standing in a mud-brick observatory thousands of years ago, with no instruments beyond their own careful notes, could tell you when the moon would darken again. To rest beneath something so predictable that people worked out its future before they had glass or metal tools is to be reassured by sheer reliability. Now, the moon in the things people have made. It appears in more paintings, more poems, more songs than probably any other object in nature. There is a famous piano piece named after moonlight, though the composer never called it that. There are folk songs about the moon in every language. There are 10,000 paintings of the moon over water, because the moon over water is the one scene painters have never got tired of. To rest inside that long tradition is to be moved by exactly the thing that has been moving people for as long as there have been people. And for centuries, sailors used the moon to find their way home. Before satellites and reliable clocks, navigators measured the angle between the moon and certain stars, and from that could work out their longitude, and so their position on the wide, featureless sea. It was difficult, painstaking work, done by lamplight on a rolling deck. The moon was the sky's clock, and it brought ships home. To rest beneath a moon that has guided so many people home is to be under something with a very long record of helping travelers. And the moon has been our first calendar, longer than anything else. The month is the moon's own word. Nearly every ancient people counted time by its phases, marking off the nights, and some of the oldest carved objects we have found, bones scored with careful notches, are thought to be tallies of the moon. Before writing, before farming, someone was already counting moons. To rest beneath the world's first clock is to keep time the oldest way, by simply looking up. And many calendars still follow it. The dates of Ramadan move with the sighting of the new crescent. Easter falls after the first full moon of spring. The Mid-Autumn Festival gathers families under the harvest moon across much of Asia. Half the festivals of the world are still scheduled by that quiet, grey stone. To rest beneath a moon that sets the calendar is to be part of a very old arrangement between people and the sky. And once a month, the moon disappears entirely. At the new moon, it sits between us and the sun, its lit face turned away, and for a night or two, there is simply no moon in the sky at all. Those are the darkest nights, the ones the stargazers wait for, when the Milky Way comes out in full, and the faint things become visible. The moon's absence is its own gift, handed over regularly, without complaint. To rest under a moonless sky is to be given, by the moon itself, the finest view of everything behind it. And you can catch the moon in the morning too. In its last quarter, it rises after midnight and is still up, pale and quiet, as the sun comes back. There is a particular gentleness in seeing it there in a bright blue morning sky, faint as tissue paper, the night's own object lingering politely into the day, in no hurry to leave. To rest knowing the moon will still be up when the morning comes is to be sent to sleep by something that does not clock off when you do. Now, the moon's soft place in the mind. In many languages, the moon is a woman, and in many others, a man. Some cultures see a rabbit in its markings, some a toad, some a face, some a man with a bundle of sticks. Every people that ever looked up made something out of those same grey shapes, and no two agreed, and all of them were looking at exactly the same moon. To rest beneath a moon that everyone reads differently is to be part of the largest and gentlest disagreement in human history. And nearly every mythology gave the moon a keeper. There are moon gods and moon goddesses in almost every tradition that ever existed. Some of them hunters, some of them weavers, some of them simply watchful. What they nearly all share is the same association, with night, with cycles, with rest, and dreams, and quiet. Thousands of separate cultures, most of them never having met, all arrived at the same conclusion about the same object, that it was gentle, and it was feminine, and it had something to do with sleep. To rest beneath a moon so consistently understood is to trust an instinct the whole species agreed on without ever discussing it. And the moon told people the hour long before clocks. Shepherds and travelers and night watchmen learned to read the time from the moon's position and phase, since a full moon at its highest point means midnight, and a first quarter setting means roughly the same. Whole nights were navigated by that quiet dial, and anyone patient enough could learn it. To rest without needing the hour is to enjoy the one luxury those night watchmen never had. And there is one more small kindness in the moon's light. It is bright enough to walk by on a clear full moon night, and dim enough that your eyes never lose their dark adaptation. You can cross a field, or find a gate, or follow a path, in light that lets you also see the stars. No lamp has ever managed that trick. To rest in a light that shows you the way without hiding the sky is to be given exactly the right amount of everything. And the moon has always been the sky's most reachable thing. Children reach for it. Lovers point at it. People far from home have always taken comfort in it, because whoever they are missing is very likely under it too. It is the one thing in the world that everybody, everywhere, can look at together at the same time. To rest beneath a shared moon is to be quietly connected to every other person awake tonight, and every person asleep. Across much of Asia, the shapes on the moon's face are read as a rabbit, sitting patiently with a mortar and pestle, and the story goes that it is pounding rice cakes or medicine up there, and has been for a very long time. Once you have been shown the rabbit, it becomes almost impossible to unsee, its long ears reaching up across the grey seas. To rest beneath a moon with a rabbit in it, quietly working away, is to look up at something that has been keeping generations of children company at bedtime. And on the 15th night of the 8th lunar month, when the harvest moon is fullest and roundest, millions of families across China, Vietnam, Korea, and beyond carry food outside and sit together to look at it. There are round cakes, because the moon is round, and lanterns, and the whole point of the evening is togetherness and looking up. It is one of the largest annual gatherings of human attention on a single object, and the object is a rock 250,000 miles away. To rest after such an evening is to have taken part in the oldest, gentlest festival there is, the one where everyone simply looks at the moon. And in the old gardens of China, builders made round doorways called moon gates, perfect circles cut through a wall, so that walking from one garden to the next meant stepping through a full moon. On certain nights, the real moon could be framed inside the stone one, and the whole garden was designed around that single moment. To rest with that image is to think of a doorway shaped like the calmest thing in the sky, waiting for you to walk gently through it. And there is an old habit, in many countries, of walking at night simply because the moon is out. No destination, no hurry, just a slow stroll through a world lit silver and unfamiliar, where the ordinary road looks like somewhere else entirely. Poets have written about it for centuries, and it is entirely free and available to almost everyone on most nights of the month. To rest after such a walk, or imagining one, is to carry back the particular calm of a world briefly repainted in silver. Now, some of the moon's landscape, and how gently it is named. The dark patches you can see with your bare eyes are vast, smooth plains of ancient lava, and long ago people thought they were seas, so they were given the names of seas, and those names stuck. There is the Sea of Tranquility, the Sea of Serenity, the Ocean of Storms, the Lake of Dreams, the Bay of Rainbows, the Marsh of Sleep. There is no water in any of them, and there never was. But someone once looked up at those grey shadows and named them for calm and dreams and sleep, and we have been using those names ever since. To rest beneath a moon with a lake of dreams and a marsh of sleep is to look up at a map made almost entirely of soft ideas. And the moon's mountains are named for ours. There are the lunar Alps and the lunar Apennines and the lunar Caucasus, ranges catching sunlight up there right now, standing in perfect airless silence. The craters, meanwhile, are named for the people who studied the sky, so that the moon's surface is quietly covered in the names of astronomers, resting in the dust they spent their lives looking at. To rest beneath such a moon is to know that we have gently written our own world's names across it, and that it has never objected. Now, the moon's dust, which is stranger than you would think, it is not soft sand, but sharp, glassy, fine grey powder, made by billions of years of tiny impacts grinding the rock. It clings to everything by static, and the astronauts who walked in it all reported the same odd detail. When they came back inside and removed their helmets, the dust on their suits smelled of gunpowder or of a spent match. No one is entirely sure why. The moon, it turns out, has a smell, and it is the smell of something recently extinguished. To rest with that small, strange fact is to know that even the emptiest places keep one or two surprises. Now, the craters, which are the moon's long memory. Its face is covered with them, some tiny, some enormous, and because nothing erodes up there, they are essentially permanent records. A crater made 4 billion years ago looks much as it did the week it formed. The moon has quietly kept the receipts of the entire early solar system in order, while our own planet, with all its rain and weather and shifting ground, has patiently erased almost all of its own. The moon remembers our neighborhood's childhood because it never learned how to forget. To rest beneath such a careful record is to be watched over by the most patient archive in the sky. And some of those craters near the poles are so deep that their floors have not seen sunlight in billions of years. They are permanently shadowed, permanently frozen, some of the coldest places in the whole solar system. And down in that cold and lasting dark, there is water ice, kept safe by the shadow for longer than the Earth has had oceans. There is frozen water on the moon, resting in shadows that have never once been disturbed. To rest in your own quiet dark is to keep company with the moon's coldest, oldest, best-kept secret. And the moon has its own quiet tremors. Instruments left behind by the astronauts recorded small moonquakes, some caused by the Earth's pull as the moon flexes gently in our gravity, others by the great temperature swing between the long day and the long night, the rock expanding and contracting with a soft creak. The moon settles at night, the way an old house does. To rest while the moon settles is to hear, in imagination, the softest creak in the solar system, and its temperatures are extreme in a way that makes our own weather look wonderfully mild. In the long lunar day, the surface grows hotter than boiling water, and through the long lunar night, It falls far below anything on earth, yet a few feet under the dust, where the swings cannot reach, the moon stays at a steady, unchanging cool, all day and all night, all year, forever. Even the moon, it turns out, keeps a calm layer just beneath its restless surface. To rest at your own steady depth, beneath whatever the day did to your surface, is to do exactly what the moon does. Now, the flags and the footprints and the small human things. There are several flags standing on the moon, bleached white by 50 years of unfiltered sunlight, their colors long gone. There are golf balls. There is a small aluminum figure left in the dust as a memorial. There are mirrors, carefully placed, which scientists still bounce laser light off to this day, measuring the moon's distance to the millimeter, decade after decade. That is how we know it is drifting away. We have been quietly measuring it, with light, since before most people alive today were born. To rest beneath a moon we still gently measure every night is to be part of a very long, very patient conversation. And in the sea of tranquility, there is a small plaque left behind with a sentence on it about coming in peace for all mankind. It has no wind to weather it and no rain to wash it. It will still be legible, sitting in the grey dust long after every monument on earth has crumbled to sand. Whatever else we are, we manage to leave one gentle sentence somewhere permanent. To rest beneath that quiet plaque is to be reminded that our kindest words can outlast our loudest ones. And the first time anyone truly looked at the moon through a telescope, only 4 centuries ago, it changed what people believed the sky was. Before that, it was thought to be a perfect, smooth sphere. Then someone pointed a small glass tube at it and saw mountains and shadows and rough grey plains and made careful ink drawings of them. The moon turned out to be a place, with terrain, rather than a light. Everything we have since learned about other worlds began with someone looking carefully at the moon on a cold night and drawing what they saw. To rest beneath a moon that once taught us the sky was made of places is to look up at the first world anyone ever really visited with their eyes. And you can still see nearly all of it yourself, with almost nothing. A cheap pair of binoculars, held steady against a doorframe, will show you the craters and the great grey seas, and the mountains casting long shadows along the line between light and dark. That line is called the Terminator, and it is where the lunar sunrise is happening. And it is the most beautiful place to look, because the low light throws every ridge into relief. The best view of the moon is never at full. It is along that shadowed edge where the light is coming in sideways. To rest with that small piece of advice is to have a lovely thing to do on the next clear evening, costing nothing. And the moon was one of the very first things anyone ever photographed. Within a few years of the camera's invention, someone pointed one at the moon and captured it, faint and blurry, on a metal plate. That old image still exists. It is one of the earliest photographs of anything, and it is a picture of the same moon that will rise over your house tonight, essentially unchanged, waiting to be photographed again by whoever likes. To rest beneath the most photographed object in history is to know that everyone, always, has wanted to keep a picture of it. Now, some of the moon's quieter neighbors, the things it does for us that no one notices. The moon steadies the earth. Its steady pull holds our planet's tilt nearly constant, which is why our seasons are mild and regular rather than wild and lurching. Without the moon, the Earth would wobble, and the climates would swing enormously over the ages. Every gentle spring you have ever seen, every reliable autumn, is partly the moon's doing. To rest in a world the moon keeps steady is to be held seasonally by something you have never once felt. And the moon slowed our days into their comfortable length. In the deep past, the Earth spun far faster, and a day lasted only a handful of hours. The moon's patient tides have been breaking that spin ever since, stretching our days out to the roomy 24 hours we know, which is, conveniently, exactly the rhythm our bodies grew to sleep and wake by. To rest in a day the moon made long enough is to sleep on a schedule the sky itself arranged. Now, the moon and the living world. Many creatures live by moonlight. Corals across whole reefs spawn together on particular nights after the full moon. Some seabirds return to their burrows only on the darkest nights. Dung beetles navigate by the pattern of moonlight in the sky. Certain plants open their flowers only after dark for the moths that fly by moonlight, and their scent is strongest then. Whole quiet economies of the natural world run on the moon's timetable. To rest beneath a moon that so many others are also living by is to join a very large, very calm, mostly nocturnal community. And the night-blooming flowers deserve a line of their own. Evening primrose, moonflower, night-blooming jasmine, all of them keeping their beauty for the dark, opening slowly as the light fails, pouring out their scent into the cooling air for creatures that only come out after sunset. There are gardens designed entirely around them, planted with pale white flowers that catch the moonlight and glow. To rest near a moon garden, real or imagined, is to be surrounded by things that have chosen, as you have tonight, to save their best hours for the dark. And many creatures navigate by it. Moths steer by keeping a constant angle to the moon's light, which is why a bright lamp confuses them so badly, since they try to hold the same angle to something only inches away and end up spiraling in. Seals and salmon time their movements by it. Lions hunt less on bright nights, and many small animals move about more freely in the dark of the new moon. The whole night shift of the natural world adjusts its plans, quietly, according to how much moon there is. To rest as part of that same night shift is to be one more creature calmly living by the moon's light. And the moon is very slowly changing our sky. As it drifts outward, a distant future will come when it appears too small to ever fully cover the sun, and the perfect eclipses will end. That is hundreds of millions of years away, and there is nothing at all to do about it. And there is something rather beautiful in knowing that we happen to be alive during the era of perfect eclipses, holding a ticket to a show with a very long but finite run. To rest inside such a lucky window of time is to be quietly glad to be here now, which is all any of us can be. Now, a soft one about our own bodies. People have believed for centuries that the moon affects human sleep, and it has been studied often, with mixed and modest results. But a few careful studies have found something small and rather charming. In the nights before a full moon, some people go to bed a little later and sleep a little less, and in the deep dark of the new moon, they sleep a little longer. Whether it is the light itself or something older? No one is certain. But the idea that our sleep leans gently toward the moon's rhythm is a lovely one to lie down with. To rest under any phase of the moon is to keep a very old appointment your body may still faintly remember. And moonlight is genuinely gentle on us. It is far too dim to disturb the body's night chemistry the way electric light does. You can sit in full moonlight for hours, and your body will still make its sleep hormones perfectly happily. Of all the lights there are, it is the one light designed, by pure accident, to be compatible with rest. To rest in moonlight is to sit in the only bright thing in the world that will not keep you awake. Now, the moonbow, which almost nobody has seen, on rare nights, when a full moon is bright and low, and rain or waterfall spray hangs in the air, just so the moonlight bends into a rainbow, exactly as sunlight does. But because moonlight is so faint, our eyes cannot pick up its colors, and so a moonbow appears as a pale, ghostly, silver-white arch in the dark. They are real, and they are rare, and there are only a handful of places on Earth where they can reliably be seen. To rest in a world that contains silver rainbows at night is to know that the gentlest version of every wonder exists somewhere, and the moon has a halo, sometimes on cold nights. When high, thin clouds of ice crystals drift across it, the moonlight bends through them and paints a wide, pale ring around the moon. Country law has long held that a ring around the moon means rain is coming, and there is something to that, since those high ice clouds often run ahead of a weather front. To rest beneath a ringed moon is to be given a soft and beautiful weather forecast, in a language 1,000 years old. Now, moonlight on water, the loveliest thing the moon does. On a calm night, the moon lays a shimmering silver path across the sea, or the lake, or the river, reaching from the horizon directly to wherever you stand. And here is its gentle secret. That path always comes to you. Whoever stands on the shore, wherever they stand, sees the silver road arrive precisely at their own feet. Every watcher, on every shore, is given their own private path to the moon. To rest at the foot of your own moon path is to be personally addressed by the night. And moonlight has no color of its own to speak of, yet everyone agrees it is silver, and cool, and blue. That is partly your own eyes. In dim light, the cells your eyes use for color go quiet, and the ones that see only in shades of gray take over, and they happen to be a little more sensitive to blue. So moonlight looks blue, partly because of how the human eye chooses to see in the dark. To rest in silver blue light is to see the world through your own night eyes, which are older and softer than your day ones. Now, the moon and the mind, in a gentler sense than the old superstitions. There is a reason nearly every culture wrote lullabies and poems to the moon, and put it in paintings, and used it as the sign for peace and dreams and longing. It is dim enough to look at directly, slow enough to watch, faithful enough to trust, and it comes out precisely when everything else is quieting down. The moon is the only celestial object that keeps the same hours we do when we rest. To rest beneath it is to look at the one thing in the sky that has always been on our bedtime schedule. And there is an old and generous idea, found in many places, that whatever troubles you have, you may hand them to the moon. It goes by different names in different lands, but the shape is always the same. Look up, name the weight quietly, and let the moon carry it for the night. since it is up all night anyway, and it has carried heavier things. To rest, having set something down, is to sleep a good deal lighter, whatever the moon does or does not do with it. Now, as our journey draws toward its close, 3 last soft facts. The first is about the moon's origin, and it is a tender one. The best explanation we have is that the moon is made of the earth. Very early on, something struck this young planet, and a great deal of the earth was thrown outward, and that debris gathered over ages into the moon, which means the moon is not a stranger that arrived. It is our own material, rearranged, orbiting us ever since. The moon is a piece of this world, keeping the rest of it company. To rest beneath it is to be watched over by something made of the same stuff as the ground beneath your bed. The second is about permanence. The moon will be there tomorrow night, and the night after, and for billions of nights beyond that. It has been through everything this world has been through: the ice ages, the extinctions, the rise and fall of every empire, and it has not changed by any amount you could see. Whatever tonight held, the moon is entirely unmoved by it, and will be up again tomorrow, exactly as it was. To rest beneath something so unchanged is to let tonight take its true size. And the third is the softest. The very same moon that is over your roof tonight was over every person who has ever lived. The same face, the same phases, the same silver. Everyone who has ever loved anyone, everyone who ever lay awake, everyone who ever finally fell asleep, did it under this exact moon. Nothing else in your whole experience is quite so shared. To rest beneath it is to lie down inside the longest continuous human tradition there is, which is simply looking up and feeling better. You don't need to hold on to any of this. Let every fact drift away now, softly, like a cloud crossing the moon's face and passing on. But perhaps you can keep one small thought. The moon has spent 4 billion years doing quiet, unthanked, essential work, steadying this world, lengthening our days, lifting the oceans twice over every single day, without ever once being noticed doing it. And it has done all of it in silence, in reflected light, without any brightness of its own. And it has been entirely enough. There is no need to burn to be worth having in the sky. It is quite enough to be steady and gentle, and there. Somewhere right now, the tide is rising because the moon is overhead. A silver path is lying across a dark sea, arriving at somebody's feet. A moth is finding a white flower by moonlight. And here, in this moment, beneath the same old faithful face, you are safe and warm and exactly where you need to be. So let your breathing slow, like a tide easing in. Let your body grow heavy, like something settling into the dust of a place with no wind. Let every last thought drift away, soft and pale, like the old moon in the new moon's arms. The moon will keep the watch. It always has. Sleep well, traveler, and thank you for spending the night looking up with me. Good night.